Drive with Robert Reese on 98.3 The Torch. Joining us right now on our 98.3 The Torch hotline is Tracey Wilen. Dr. Tracey Wilen gives career advice. Dr. Tracey, I appreciate you joining me here on 98.3 The Torch, Common Sense Radio.
Oh, thank you, Robert. Thanks for having me.
Now, you got this thing it got sent over to me saying we need to take career selfies. And I thought that was an intriguing line. So what is a career selfie? Why do we need to take them, and what does that mean?
Well, first of all, Robert, I saw this statistic about a week ago that people take about 93 million selfies per day. And as someone who focuses on careers, I said, if we would only start to look at our own careers with that much intent and interest, we probably would be all better off. So I suggest to people, why don't you also take a career selfie and take a closer look at where you're going.
Wow, 93 million career selfies are taken every day, but how many of us look at our careers every single day and reflect on that? All right, so how do we take a career selfie?
Well, I came up with 10 trends on, do you understand how the workforce has changed? Because you might be working and wondering why other people are getting promoted around you and you're not. And so I thought that these 10 trends would be very helpful for people who might not be current on some of the workforce trends.
All right, and you can get more information about Dr. Tracey on her website, TraceyWilen.com. That's Wilen. And give us some of the little tips here that we can get an idea on.
Sure. So the first one is all about contributing, and that's more important today. The loyal worker, has really been replaced by the entrepreneurial employee. And a lot of that is about succession planning. We need people who put on the CEO hat and own their jobs so that they can really progress in a firm. And I think a lot of people might be still living in the world where loyalty is enough, and they're waiting to be told what to do instead of taking control.
I was going to ask you, because what does that mean? Like, saying put the entrepreneurial hat on, own your job instead of just being the loyal worker. Do you have an example that you could give us of what that really means, like how that translates into real life example?
Yes. In fact, many people today look for leaders, right, to replace them in companies in different departments. So one is the sales department. So are you adding sales and increasing sales and customers? In manufacturing, are you reducing error ratios? Are you reducing costs or improving the process? In customer service, are you getting very high scores from your customers who call in on the phone if you're on the help desk or in the call center? And so these are real tangible ways that companies can say that's a person who's adding value. And if you keep metrics on yourself, then you really know that you can present something quantifiable to your manager.
All right, we're talking to Dr. Tracey Wilen. Get more information about her at TraceyWilen.com. That's Wilen. And she gives career advice and counsel, and she's telling us that we need to take career selfies on a regular basis. So what's another example of how we can take a career selfie?
Well, I'll give you another example. Making your manager look good was the old way. You made your manager look good to his or her boss, and in return you would have a security in your job. But today companies are realizing it's the employee personal brand that reflects on the company. So let me just give you a quick example. If you go into a hotel, the first person you meet is probably not the manager of the hotel. The first person that you meet is probably the bellboy or the person who's taking your car and parking it, or the front desk or the concierge. And your impression of the hotel and the manager there is all based on your experience with these employees. And so companies are seeing, I have to make sure that all of my employees who are really the touch points of the firm have a positive self-brand.
Taking a career selfie helps us stay up to date with new digital trends, and we're talking to Dr. Tracey Wilen about how we can do that. And you get more information about her once again at TraceyWilen.com. That's Wilen. And all right, so how's another way we can keep up with the digital trends of today as employers? Because with the tough economy, we all have to be ahead of the game here, not behind. So what's something else that we can do?
Well, another thing that I think is important for employees to realize is that they used to probably get bonus. Many of us did on being an all-star individual contributor. But today it's all about teams. And the reason is that soft skills are in high demand in companies. These are things like being able to be a team leader, a team player, having excellent communication skills, and a really good attitude. And in fact, many of the studies show that teams outperform individual contributors, teams that have good, roles, goals, and communication. So I think it's important for employees to realize that it isn't just about showing up at work. It isn't about catching and diving anymore, but it's really about being a strong team player and being able to lead the team across the finish line.
What about environments where they don't have to? Because you're saying, we used to focus on self-improvement and trying to get those bonuses for ourselves, but you're saying now we ought to try to focus on trying to develop as a team?
The teams are very important because in research studies done is that productivity is much higher now if you're collaborating on a team. The reason is that work has really changed. It's very difficult to be able to produce anything without having a number of team experts that you can bring together. It's much more complex today. It's much more global today. It's much more connected than in the past. It isn't like you're working down the street anymore. Your employees, your colleagues can be anywhere in the world.
Let me ask you this, Tracey. This advice you're giving us is all it makes sense. It's, you got to be a team player. You got to be entrepreneurial minded. Own your part of the business of the company and everything. But for those who, maybe still be a little old school mentality with these things, how do we develop these new skills? How do we, do you have any tips on how we can become a better team player and work with others, and how we can take control of our job instead of just being a loyal employee? Do you have any tips on how we can accomplish these things?
Actually, I do. I think that, and firms are much more conducive to internal ideas and rotation. So here's what I encourage people. If you're working, look for a lateral move inside your firm. You don't have to leave your firm to get experience. You just have to raise your hand and say, I'd like to experience another department or another group. Some people call it a tour of duty. Also, some firms are very open about externships. That's where, a very good employee who has a lot of initiative spends time at a client or a vendor so that they see more of the business than just what they're doing. Cross-functional teams. I remember I joined a lot of cross-functional teams on the technology side because I wanted to really beef up my technology skills. And I think that's an easy way that people can still work in their role and then test out new things. And then outside of work. I know a lot of people who actually volunteer for leadership roles, whether it's in non-for-profits, on boards, in their kids' schools, to really develop other types of skills that they may not be developing at work. And some people actually just, take some classes. If you're weak in negotiating, best thing you could probably do is get out there and take a negotiating class, and one where you have to practice every class that skill.
I think one of the things you said right there kind of, sparked something in my mind is you said taking the initiative to ask for it, to go to the employer and say, hey, I would like to have a lateral move. I'd like to do this. I'd like to do that. Because I know from experience from owning businesses, having lots of employees in the past and everything that often I don't know what the employees' goals are. I don't know what they really want to do. I don't know what their drive is. And then maybe sometime later they feel like they got shunned by the company somehow because they were overlooked for something or something. And I'm like, hey, I didn't know you were interested even. And so I think communication is definitely a key right there.
Yes, and you're bringing up a point that the firm is not your family. Your manager is not your mom and dad. They don't know what you're thinking. They can't read your emotions. It's up to you to say, okay, I own my career. I own my job, and now what do I want to do? And let people know exactly what you're saying. A lot of people don't know what their employees want, and the employees think that they're watching them, then that's not really happening. If you tell me what you want, I can be a team player with you and help you scope out how to get there.
Yeah, it's about opening up that door of communication with your employer and letting them know where you want to go. And then because what I found, I know as myself, but also talking to other business owners, employers are willing to help their employees achieve their goals if they know what the goals are. And often we as employers are too busy to ask what the goals are. So employees need to take the initiative and go to the employers like, hey, I want to do this. I need this.
Yes, and you bring up a good point, is that actually employers don't want to lose employees. It's too expensive to replace them and train new ones. So it is very important that as an employee you realize that, but you also have skin in the game with your employer.
Tracey Wilen, go to TraceyWilen.com. That's Wilen. Now, Tracey, where can we, if somebody wants to get the rest of these 10 trends, the way they can keep up with the digital world and take a career selfie, where can they get these? Just on your website?
So it's on the website. I also, my Twitter account is at Tracey Wilen.
Okay, at Tracey Wilen, Wilen. Tracey, I appreciate you joining me here on 98.3 The Torch, Common Sense Radio.
Thank you.
All right, that's Dr. Tracey Wilen. TraceyWilen.com. Take a career selfie.